Hello there, everyone. I'm Mr. Saem Today we will solve May-June 2022, paper 3 and the variant 32. So we'll be solving over here is your spreadsheet part. So we have to create in task 1 evidence document. I'll start with task 2 right away. Let me zoom in. I'm going to do it really slowly so that you get the point. And I'm also going to discuss the paper in detail. You're going to create a spreadsheet for the Tawara Wildlife Trust to display data about funding for the global conservation projects. The amount each project cost is paid in local currency of the country where the project is running. The Tawara Wildlife Trust record their finances in Tawara dollars, so each cost must be converted into this currency. Okay, so each cost must be converted into this currency. Display Tawara currency as pound as dollar to 2 decimal places. Do not edit the data files provided unless instructed to do so. So you're not allowed to edit the files, okay, unless and until the examiner says so. Now, it's very important that you open up the files and you study them thoroughly. And I've been saying this in all my lectures. Data analysis means to analyze the spreadsheet, to study the spreadsheet, to know what it has. Okay, this is what it requires, a lot of thinking at times. So we have to, point number 1, we have to open and examine the files, cost, currency, project in a spreadsheet package. Place the cost file left aligned. So I'll open up the files first for you. So here are the files. I'll open the cost file. I'm going to arrange the files. So step 1, click here and double click between the columns to make sure everything is arranged properly. Again, double click between the columns. Open the files. So open the files first. Open all the files first. Do not open the files while applying a function or formula. So what we have to do now is, in the file cost, I have to place in the header your name, sender number, and your candidate number. These 3 have to be placed. And right line the header, the automated file name and path. So in the cost file, we'll go into print. We'll go into page setup. We'll go into header and footer. We'll go into custom header. And as per the question, left align the header. We'll place the following details. You can enter yours. And then in right line in the header, the automated file name. So right line the header, place the file name and path. So I'm going to place the file name, space, I'm going to place the path. Press OK, press OK. So you'll get all the details up over here. You can come back. Right? This point is done. Save the spreadsheet with the file name, costs followed by your center number, candidate number. Okay? So it's very important that you note something over here, how to save the file. So you'll save as, browse, and you will save it as, let's say, Mr. Saem, and you always have to save it in Excel workbook. That's very important. Save it in Excel workbook and you save it. Point 2. Now, if you study this thoroughly, you will see over here is what details we have: the date. Okay. Now, the reason why this is appearing this way is because I have over here is month, day, year. It should be DMY. So I would just change my date and time settings. And I'll make it DMY. Right? So I have day month here. Okay. Now, if I would have opened the file again, it would not appear in this way. It will all appear properly, right? So, in fact, let me just change it accordingly. 1 second. It's supposed to be actually DDD MMM. So, full day month here. So, right? So, DDD MMM YYY, right? So this is what we have. Right. So, fine. Let's continue. So, enter formula. Now, step number 2. We'll enter formula in cell G5 to look up the project name using the project code for the value and the external file this for the array. So, what we have to do over here is that in C5, we have some project codes. And if you look at the other file, we have the project codes and we have the names of the projects. This means by looking at the project code, I can obviously find the respective project name. And if you have done VLOOKUP basically does the same thing, that if you select the range, you can compare this with this. So you have to write comma 2. So what we'll do over here is, we'll simply use is equals to VLOOKUP. That's my lookup value that I'm trying to search for. We don't lock our lookup value. The table array means the range. From which particular range do you want to select? So I'll simply come to this file and I'll select the range. Make sure that you've done the previous step where you have double-clicked into columns and arranged everything. So you have to follow every step. So I selected this range, not selecting the first row because I don't want the field names. Comma 2 because I want the data from the second column. And comma 0 because I would like to have is the exact match. I could even type false. So this way I get is the project names. And I replicate it. How did I replicate? I came here and I double clicked. So when this turns into black, you double click and then you replicate. Point number 3. Now this is a very important part. Enter formula in G5 to display the ISO of the currency for the country displayed in cell D5 using the external 5J2232 currency.csv for the array. So if you look at this file over here, in G5, you want the local currency. So if you look at the other file where I have the ISO, the country, the currency, and exchange rate. So these are the currencies and these are the exchange rates. And that this is the country and the ISO. So I want the ISO by looking at the country. So let me explain it again. By looking at the following countries, I want the ISO. So if I use this as a lookup value, and if I select this array, it will not help me if I use VLOOKUP. Because VLOOKUP works when you want to compare, let's say the ISO, you want to compare the ISO with the country. So you can write comma 2. Or you want to compare the ISO and you want to get the currency for the ISO. You can write comma 3. Or if you want the exchange rate by looking at the ISO, in that case, you write comma 4. So do you want to compare the ISO, the first column, with the second, the third, the fourth? So if you want to compare with the second, write comma 2. If you want to compare with the third, you write comma 3. If you want to compare with the fourth, write comma 4. That's why you write the column index number. The column index number refers to the column from where you want to get the data. So I repeat again, Listen carefully. The column index number refers to the column number, from where I want to get the data, extract the data. So in this particular case, VLOOKUP is not going to help me because VLOOKUP does not search backward. In case if you want to search backward, you want to be irrespective of it, you have to depend on lookup function. So this is where we use lookup. You have to get back to my lectures or spreadsheets. This point will be cleared up over there if you want more explanation. So that's my lookup value. Comma, it says give me the lookup vector. So lookup vector V means the lookup value that you pointed out, that lookup value is in which column. So I just pointed out at country. Now it's saying, can you tell me where the country is? Okay, this is where I have the country. I'm sorry. This is where I have the country. Okay, so once I'm selecting from another file, it automatically locks it. Then it says, can you give me the resultant from where you want the answer? So vector basically means the column. It's saying, can you tell me the column which has the answer? So I select the column. Here we go. And always read the syntax. Lookup says, give me the lookup value. We have provided that. Provide the lookup vector. We have provided that. Provide the resultant vector. We provided that. It is not asking for a column index number. It's not asking for the exact match or approximate match. So please always read the syntax of every function before you try implementing it. Okay, VLOOKUP has a different syntax. Lookup has a different syntax, obviously. In this way, I get the ISO and I can replicate. Point number 4. Enter formula is 5 to calculate the cost in the wire dollars by dividing the value in the cost in local currency column by exchange rate. So what we need to do over here is we need to say is equals to, read again, by dividing the value in the cost in local currency. So we have to divide the cost in local currency has to be divided by VLOOKUP. I'll tell you why. So we look up at the ISO, comma, and now I can use VLOOKUP because we need to compare with the 4th column because I want to look at compare the ISO and the exchange rate. So that's my exchange rate. So comma 4 and comma 0. For example, $1 is equal to 300 rupees. That's the exchange rate. So I have to divide with it. Okay. So this way I get is this. What did the scenario say? It has to be 2 decimal places. Did it say so? Yes, it has to be 2 decimal places. So I'll simply select, I'll go to format, number, and 2 decimal places. Replicate the formula, we've done that. Merge cells A1 to H1. So we'll merge cells A1 to H1 has to be merged. And center. Insert a new row between row 3 and 4. So between row 3 and 4, I am going to insert a new row. In row 4 and a new row between row 1 and 2. So between 1 and 2, I'm also going to insert a new row. Right. Format row 1 to 6, so it looks like this. So you see over here is, we have to format this way. So I'll simply select this. I'm going to make the background black. I'm going to make the font white. I'm going to increase the font size to this much. And what else? I'm just going to bring it this way a bit up. Okay. I'm going to have first quarter and the second quarter this way. Okay. And then we just have to select these. We have to bold this, right click, format, alignment, wrap text. Why do we have to wrap? I'll tell you why. Because we have to actually, so I'll just press space, goes down. Okay, and I can center align this. Same case, project name goes the same way, cost in local currency. So, right, local currency, ISO, local currency, ISO, and cost in $1. Right, there we go. $1, but they all have to be lined. You see, they're horizontally and vertically lined. So I'll go to format again. I am going to align them in the center. Okay, and the center. Okay, so I have something like this, right? It has to be exactly like this. There are marks for this. Okay, apply below formatting done. Save your spreadsheet, print formula used, and print the values. So very simple. All you have to do is, I told you this before, I'll open up the keyboard on screen. You need to press Control tilde. So once you're here, if you press, you will see over here. Once you press Control tilde, you see the formulas. You click here, you double click between the columns, adjust everything, go into File, go into Print, and you do is you make sure it's landscape and it's A4, right? And then you can print it. If you need to have the row and column, you can select from here in the sheet. Same way, you will press Control tilde and view the formulas, view the values. Click here and double click with the values, and then you print this again. I hope it's all clear. If you have any problem, pass in the comments. I'll be able to answer you. Thank you for watching.